Live from First Street Studios in South Tampa, Florida. It's time for another round of Last Call. Hey, welcome back to Last Call 76. Thanks for all you subscribers that tuned into our channel and everything. And today we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of people, it's on the minds of a lot of people, sportscasters, right? And broadcasters and everything else, about what's going on in New England. So let's just say Bill Belichick. How is he handling what's going on in New England right now? I think he's handling it well. I think they missed on the draft at the quarterback position, at least at this point. Not going to say no names. You're welcome to. A lot of money, big risk. And I don't know, does this hurt Bill Belichick's legacy? Because I really don't think so. But what do you think about it?
We live in a prisoner of the moment mentality. And I know there are people already saying this is tarnishing his legacy. It doesn't. 6 Super Bowl rings.
Exactly.
He took a franchise that was the doldrums of the AFC East. And remember, the AFC East used to have 5 teams in it when the Colts were still there. They were always team number 5. Right? They were some of the worst teams in the NFL for a period. I mean, when they did, a couple times they did make the playoffs, they'd get, beat pretty quickly. The one year they made the Super Bowl, 85.
Yeah, but they got the brakes beat off of them by the Bears.
By the Bears. So, I mean, this is he basically he did for New England what Dion is starting to do for Colorado in smaller sense. He made the New England Patriots the model franchise of the NFL. Everybody has a shelf life, though. Every dynasty comes to an end. Father Time's unbeaten when it comes to players, and it comes to coaches.
Yeah.
And the big debate is, did Brady benefit off Belichick, or was it the other way around?
It was mutual.
To me, it's mutual. And I'll say this. I think the beginning, Tom Brady needed Bill Belichick a hell of a lot more than Belichick needed Brady. But at the end, the roles were reversed. I think the game's starting to catch up to Belichick. I think years of being, you can pull these gems out of the draft so long. But when you're picking 28, 29, 30, eventually it's going to catch up with you.
That I think is the most solid point. They went to so many Super Bowls. I believe, 10?
Yeah.
You don't get any new draft picks unless you trade out or trade up.
Right.
So you're right. Picking in the last spot all the time for that many years, the life cycle or the shelf life, so to speak, is going to run out on you. Now, you can only grab so much at free agency. But at the same time, you got to look at the years before at Cleveland and other coaching assistant jobs or whatever. But at the head coaching position, without Tom Brady, he's batting 500.
Yeah.
So, and not trying to say that he's not the greatest coach of all time or one of. People will argue, with Lombardi, and all these other guys, right, down the road, Tom Landry. But when you got 6 championships, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And in our lifetime, I don't know that we'll ever see a team win 6 in that amount of time. Now, we've seen the Steelers do it like from 74 all the way through, a few years back, recent years, about 10 years ago with Roethlisberger, right?
Right.
But look how long that took. And then look at the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, what do they got? I think 4 or 5. No, 5. I think 4 or 5.
I think 4. I think they haven't won one since 95. So
well, they had 3 plus 2.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So they have 5.
Yeah.
49ers, I believe, have 4. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
And then you got Pittsburgh at 6.
Yep.
As a franchise over time. And then now you got the Patriots at 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, with 7 rings, Tom Brady, you bring up a great point. I don't think you could decipher who helped who the most. I think they did more with less, to be honest. There's a lot of arguments out there that people say, oh, those teams were all stacked. But they were stacked through free agency for the most part, or what they had drafted, like people that just came like Vrabels and Brewski. Who would have thought those guys would have been such, Ty Law, like getting those kind of dudes.
Right.
But if you looked at picking on the back of the end of the draft that many years, because if you look at their record, the Tom Brady years, what did he play? I think he played a total of 22 years? Yeah. But he played that many games, and then playoffs, not to mention, in between all that.
Right.
I mean, so when you think of it, how many losing seasons did Tom Brady have? He had 1.
1, yeah. I know.
And that was with us.
Yeah, yeah, that's 8 and 9, right?
Yeah.
And they still made the playoffs.
Right. And we still lost to Dallas at home. So when you think about that, that's insanity.
Yeah.
How you could ever say Bill Belichick is not the greatest coach of all time, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
If we're going off that.
And
Okay, so you could easily say he's 500 coach without Brady. But is Brady a 7 Super Bowl or 6 Super Bowl winner without Belichick? And not to mention, even though he came to Tampa, he brought the Belichick blood.
absolutely.
So it's kind of like 7 because it happened in the first year, if you
Right.
think about it. So what is that, 13 together?
Yeah,
Come on, dude. We'll never see that in our lifetime.
not even close. Not in any sport.
Not in that amount of time and that amount of visits to, and that brings up, and we'll talk about some more after we talked about the Jordan thing with LeBron. You got to put the 11 finals in there.
Yeah.
Like with LeBron, even though he's only won 4. But at the end of the day, when you look at it holistically, that's a lot of trips.
Oh, yeah.
And then going to all those trips, not winning the lottery necessarily in the NBA with the lottery. We're going to get deep dive that later on. But what did Cleveland get to draft during all that time?
Yeah.
And what did Miami Heat get to draft? Because they have all those championships, right? Or at least finals appearances.
Right.
So that's good. So the question, I think, is do you think Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL?
It's hard to argue against it. And this is from a staunch Miami Dolphin fan who loves seeing the Patriots revel in mediocrity.
We all do.
I mean, it's like, this is music to our ears because let's be honest, there's a lot of crap that was said about Belichick over the years, the Spygate, the deflated balls and all that other stuff. So this is like, everybody that doesn't like the Patriots, this is beautiful. But how can you argue, 6 Super Bowl rings? 6.
In that amount of time.
In that amount of time. 3 other ones that, by the way, they lost by, a grand total of 3, 6, 6. I mean, they lost twice to the Giants, once to the Eagles. I mean, I think they lost by a total of 21 points.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's 9 Super Bowl appearances.
I'll be honest. If we just go off Super Bowl era, now of course you got to go back to the Vince Lombardi years and the Hallises and all that. But that's when the league was
7 teams, 8 teams.
in its infancy, so to speak, right? But if you look at overall coaches right now from the Super Bowl era, nobody can make an argument. I mean, Andy Reid, maybe.
He's got to win another 2 or 3 to even get that level.
I think so, but he's got a guy who could do it with him.
True.
But I just don't know if anybody with any kind of sports, show, any, I don't know, what would you call a sports broadcaster, sports journalist, how you cannot put him above everybody else.
It's impossible not to. And listen, before anybody says about, Brady, what would Joe Montana have been without Bill Walsh?
Well, what would Terry Bradshaw?
What would Terry Bradshaw have been without Chuck Noll on that defense? I mean, we can sit there and pick through the history of all the great players and most of them it's like the video in one of our videos, check it out here on Last Call 76. Subscribe, hit that bell notification button. The situation you go into, would Ben Roethlisberger have been it without Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin? I mean, we could sit there and cherry pick it. You need to have the Robin and that Batman.
Yeah.
And I think those two complemented each other very well. And I mean, Belichick's the best of them all. I'm sorry, I don't get any pride in saying that. And this doesn't tarnish his legacy at all. Because I know, prisoner of the moment, look, you don't take away what he did over those years. You can't take away what he did over those years where they were the beast of the East and the AFC, and they were the team everybody wanted to beat. You can't take that away.
Absolutely. And even the ones, like you said, they lost, like to the Giants the one year, but they were undefeated up to that game. So there's so many tangibles. There's so many different things. Like you said, sometimes it's almost like apples to refrigerators.
Right.
When you compare the Patriots in that 20-year run.
Yep.
We'll never see it again in our lifetime. So you have to earmark Bill Belichick as number one.
Yep.
I don't care what anybody else says because it's just factual content. Because the Brady had Belichick. Like you said, Walsh had Montana.
Right.
Tom Landry had, Roger Staubach, Don Meredith. Well, and what do we have? Your boys. Miami had Greasy, right?
Yeah, Greasy, yep. Three running backs that had 1,000 yards.
Yeah, so I mean, but I think at this conversation, it's 100% at this point Bill Belichick. And if Andy Reid, I think he's closing in on those wins, but he's got to put a couple more Lombardis in the shelf, at least 5. to even be in a conversation because there's already fours in there.
Well, he's at 2 now. He's at 2, right? He's at 2, and he's had, what, 2 appearances?
Yeah, and then one over at the Eagles, too,
yeah.
right?
Man, we got a ways to go. We'll never see it.
All right. Hey, good. Thanks for all tuning in. Good conversation, Jay. We'll see you soon.